What's going on, everyone? And depending on which video you've watched first, we are getting down to the ADC tier list. And I'm going to reiterate this. I think this is the third tier list, or this is the third tier list I'm doing in a row. This might be different for you. But I'm going to reiterate this. If you haven't seen my other videos explaining this, I suggest you watch them first. But basically, I'm taking a different approach to the tier list, and I'm going over each role within Joust currently, rather than a single tier list. So if you like it or you hate it, let me know in the comment section down below, as, again, I like doing tier list in general, so the way I do it doesn't matter to me, but what makes more sense to you guys is what matters to me, as that's what I'm here for, as I'm a YouTuber. But also, lastly, again, I have to reiterate this every single time. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it one more time after this with the other tier list, but I may have missed a god or two, so if I did, let me know that too. As I think, I mean, there's not that many hunters here or ADCs, so this one should be relatively quick, but if I may have missed one, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll address it there. And pin it in the comment section. So look there as well if, you know, you may have seen or may have missed one or whatever, for example. But without further ado, let's get into this. This one should be a shorter one. I know I said in the tank one that I want to do like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but it turned out to be 50 minutes, and the maze started to be like an hour. So yeah, your feedback is really appreciated. I hope I've made that clear enough. I think I have. But yeah, let's get into the bans. Very similar to the other ones. S is ban, A plus is great, A is good, B is subpar, C is niche, meaning you know, it can only fit in a specific team comp that works well with it, or it just means it's pretty bad. That's what that tier means. So let's get into it. AMC, I think, has fallen. Boy, has he fallen. I think this man is I don't think he's the greatest anymore. He used to be S ban, and then I think middle way through it used to be like A plus. Now I think he's A. A lot of the gods that go ability based I don't think are that great anymore. We're in an auto attack based meta in terms of Joust, as a lot of you probably know, and so I don't think AMC is all that great right now. You can argue A plus, but generally speaking, I don't think AMC has it in his kit anymore to do that. There's so many guardians, there's so many tank mage builds that just basically kill him for free, and the amount of damage that you do with him I don't think justifies picking up this god, as I don't think he's going to be able to burst gods down like many of the other hunters that we're going to be talking about here soon do. So with that, I think AMC is just your top A pick, maybe argue low A plus, but in my opinion I think he is only a solid okay middle of the road god. Anhur, I think, is A plus, almost S. He has a very high skill ceiling, so that does depend on how your Anhur is, as I know a lot of people's Anhur is either fucking solid as shit and where you just are fucking dicking people down, or you're dog shit with Anhur like me, where you can't do shit, you miss your impale, and you're fucking stuck because you have a controller that you can't really do much with on Anhur because you miss your abilities because you're dog shit like me. Anyways, Anhur I think is very good though. He does have a lot of damage. He can go auto attack based. His slow is really fucking annoying, so you can do a lot of damage in that. Crit being in the meta also makes it to where like you can slow them down in your in your pillar, and you fucking just auto them. You get like 3, 4, 5 autos off, and if they crit you can basically kill them for free. His ult does a tremendous amount of fucking damage. He has very safe getaway with his 3. The only thing that makes him not as good S tier is how easy he is to play. I think because of how high his skill ceiling is, surprisingly, because his kit is very, very simple, I think he is very hard to play and pick up just right off the bat compared to a lot of these other gods. That's what makes him, in my opinion, not S, but he's definitely A plus and one of your better hunters. Apollo, I don't know why you would play Apollo. He does have he does go auto attack base, but his ult is kind of useless because you know he's coming, you can hear him. It's not like you can traverse across the map and split push. Maybe you can get a cheeky niche split push, or not split push, but like you could ult get their Phoenix quicker or something like that if you got like Bull Demon down or whatever. But at that point, you might as well have just picked a different hunter, because you would have already probably won the game if you've gotten fucking Bull Demon with Apollo. I don't think he's that good. I think he's niche. Any other god I'm looking at right now, I would probably rather than him, in my opinion. So no, I think he's niche. Artemis, I think she is a sleeper pick. I think she's A. I don't think she's top A. I think she's probably middle or low A. She does have her faults that she is very easy to gank. Or sorry, gank. I'm thinking conquest. You don't really gank in Joust. You can, but not really. But she's very easy to catch off with any type of guardian. I mean, like Kabrak encounters her, Chiron, Bacchus, obviously. Like, she's very easy to kill. But I think with the new build that she's going with, the Silver Branch build, she gets like a lot of fucking power in her autos. So if you build crit, you can kind of 2 to 3 shot somebody with your autos. If you use your 2 and you have your Silver Branch, or if you have your ult up. So she can actually, she's like a really good, solid, in my opinion, god. You just have to get out of the early game to where like you can CC immune, like if you're getting dove or whatever, you can CC immune you with your ult, and then you can go in the back line and just fucking one shot somebody, for example. So in my opinion, I think she's a sleeper pick. We're gonna see how it is. I don't think she's ever gonna be top of the meta because of all of her faults that make her pretty bad. You can argue maybe she's in B, but I think she, in my opinion, is an underrated pick. Cernnunos, solid A. I mean, nothing really interesting about him. He has a dash, so it's pretty safe, but he still doesn't have like a leap or whatever, so Kabrakin can fuck with him. His autos do a lot. He's auto attack based, and we're in that meta, so he's good on that. His ult is okay. It's not the greatest in the world. Has some good setup and damage. His 2 has a cripple, so it's cool if you hit it. Does a decent amount of damage. Good wave clear, stuff like that. He's just middle of the road. I think he'd probably be middle of the middle in A, so... Charybdis, I think, I would say Charybdis is probably A as well. I think she falls under the same lines as Kern. I think she's probably a little bit better because she does have a CC immune ult. She does have a 3 that makes her untargetable. Her 2 does a lot of damage, and her 1 does a decent amount of damage too. In fact, now I'm thinking about it, I think she's a little bit higher. I think she's probably top A. I think she's pretty underrated too. I think she does a lot of damage. And I think she's a very good hunter, in my opinion. CC immune ults are not to be fucked with. They are really good. Her ult might be clunky as fuck, but in my opinion, you're not using her ult to do damage. If you do end up doing damage, that's great. But her ult is basically a way to CC immune something and walk the fuck away. Very similar to how Scylla can play too sometimes, although Scylla's ult is better, in my opinion. A lot better. But, you know, you get the point. Charybdis, CC immune ult, very good. Chernobog has fallen a little bit. I still think he is A. As you're going to see, a lot of these gods, there's nothing really crazy about hunters except for a couple. A lot of them can be played, a lot of them can't. Or a lot of them can be played, a lot of them can be played at a high level, but most of them are going to be just middle of the road, in my opinion. Cherno is pretty good, even with the nerfs. He has a... what is it? Why can't I think of the word? He has a... cross the map ult similar to Apollo. I don't know, I'm literally missing the word. I don't know why I can't think of the word right now. A global ult, Jesus Christ. He has a global ult, which isn't that favorable in Joust because it's a small map, but it's still nice to have, as you can go from base to team fight, even though a lot of times that really shouldn't be happening. So I mean, but other than that, he still does a lot of damage with his 1-2. His 2 does a lot. It can crit, with crit being in the meta, and you know, stuff like that, and then auto attack stem. He is a very solid god. You can use his 3 to get away a lot. So I think Cherno is a solid middle of the road god. I'd put him up higher on the list though, close, probably in front of Charybdis, if I were to put this in order, which I'm technically not. Chiron, I think Chiron is A+. Chiron is an ability based god, and although a lot of ability based gods aren't good right now, like Marty or whatever and AMC, I think he stands the test in terms of being better. He's super safe. He does a lot of fucking damage with his with his autos as well as like his one, for example, and his ult. He has really great getaway with his 3 knockback and stuff like that. So I think Chiron's a pretty solid pick. I probably put him low A plus, but I still think he's a really solid pick into most team comps outside of like Bracken, because that's fucked. But yeah, I think Chiron's a really good pick, better than a normal in my opinion. Now, Chronos, I would put him in subpar. Like I said earlier, I don't think in my mage tier list, I don't think that he's all that good as a auto attack. I think he's one of the worst ADCs in terms of your mages. I just don't think he has the ability to really truly have a pure auto attack build with like 3 rings and stuff like that, Typhon's Fang, like you would normally build on like a Freya or whatever. I think he's really good at mixing in the damage as well, because his abilities do a fuck ton of damage and have a lot of scaling as well. So as a pure auto attack based auto damage carry, I don't think he's all that great, and I'd put him in subpar. I'd much rather him as a mage than anything else. Now we have Cupid. I think Cupid's a solid god. He's middle of the road. Very good god at cripples with his ult. Has good healing. Has recently got a buff, so he's a little bit better. He has a dash, which also, if you level up, gives him auto attack. So he does have auto attack. Basically, an auto attack stim at all times. I don't know if you really call it a stim. And he has pretty solid damage with his one, being able to stun with his passive. So yeah, I think he's underrated in my opinion. I don't think he's played enough. And I think he's just a solid god in my opinion. Danza. I think Danza's middle of the road again too. As you can see, a lot of these gods are going to be middle of the road because we haven't gotten to the OP gods, which I assume most of you know. Danza is going to be popping up one more time in the next tier list, so it's going to be fun to see that. But he recently got a buff in his 3 where he gets 15% damage mitigation, but I don't think... I think that him being an auto attack damage god, I don't think, you know, is going to be top of the food chain. I just think that I think he's just good. He has a lot of damage. He can go into like an ability based build too with his 1 and his 2 and his ult, because they all do a lot of damage. But in the meta that we're in, I think that auto attack base is better on him, but I don't think there's really nothing. It's kind of hard to talk about him because he doesn't really have a lot of shit to talk about. He does have a lot of damage, but outside of that, I don't think he's that oppressive. You can kind of counter him a lot. He's kind of easy to read. The only thing that's hard about him is his 3 if he uses it correctly when he goes into the leaf. But either way, not much to say about him other than he's just solid. Nothing too bad about him, nothing too horrible or nothing crazy about him either. I will say his ult is, if you're gonna ult away, you can definitely counter it by just standing in front of him if he tries to get away. So that's also one thing that's a downfall of him. But you still have your 3, so I mean he's still very easy to get away. Freya, where would I put Freya, man? Freya is a hard one because I think she has one of the best late games in the game out of almost every single god. But at the same time, her early game is what really matters, and she can kind of get snowballed easily. I'm gonna put her in high B. I don't think I think because of how easy snowball she is, on top of the other hunters and ADCs being better, I don't think she's that great. If you ever get to late game, if you're ever going to play her, you got to play her slow, get a couple items online, and then once you do that, then you can actually play with her. You can play her more aggro, as her late game is where she shines. If you get to late game, you can kill anyone basically. So I think Freya is a little bit lackluster because of that, but her damage is crazy if you ever do get there. But yeah, I think she is top subpar in my opinion. Hachi, that's going to be your S-band. We finally got one of them up there. Hachi has everything. And that's basically why a lot of the other hunters aren't played a lot, is because Hachi and a couple other gods that'll be up there just are so much better than the others. I mean, his autos, he has stim in his 2. His 2 does a fuck ton of damage. His 3 is a great getaway. It stuns as well, so you can actually initiate with it. Your 1 is arguably your best ability there. If pair it with Griffin Wing and crit, for example, you can literally 3-shot somebody based on RNG, or 2-shot somebody. Not really 2-shot, usually 3-shot, if you get all crits on there. It can do on squishies like 600 to 800 damage late game with crit on him, which is fucking nutty. And not only that, you have consistent damage with your 2 and your ult. And not only that, if you want to run away, for example, let's say they caught you or whatever, you don't have your 3 up and they caught you, like they stunned you or whatever, you can use your 3 and you can just fucking traverse the entire map on your horse. So he's super safe, does crazy damage in his autos, and he's one of the best auto attack based gods we have in the game right now. And we're an auto attack based meta. He basically has everything, and basically almost outtrades anybody because he can use his long range autos with his 1 to do whatever the fuck he wants to anyone. So arguably, no, he is the top three best hunters right now. Heimdallr, subpar in my opinion. I think he's high skill ceiling. The high skill ceiling that he has, I think, makes him not that great because a lot of people who play him don't really know how to play him correctly, and I think that is a downfall to him. Not only that, he's not, even if you are playing him well, or at least at a good level, like you understand what he's going on, because at like I said, high skill ceiling, meaning that if you get to like the pinnacle of like being good at Heimdallr, you can do whatever the fuck you want with him. But generally speaking, if you know how to play him correctly, even still, I don't think he can outclass really much of any of the other gods. I just don't think he's just not really there. I'd much rather play a god that's a lot easier to play, that also can basically do the exact same thing Heimdallr does. So Heimdallr's not terrible though. He has a CC immune ult. He has vision with his 1, and his 3 is very good if you are able to use it correctly. But you have to use it really. That's literally the reason why he's so good, is because of his 3, or high skill ceiling. Not good, sorry. High skill ceiling because of his 3, and the way you use your abilities too. So he's gonna be subpar in my opinion. Hou Yi is also gonna be an S. He's low S. Can argue A+, but in my opinion, I think he's, if I'm looking at any of the other gods, I think he's top 3. Yeah, he's top 3. I think he's number 3 in my opinion of the top 3. Hou Yi recently got a buff with his 1, more scaling on his bounces and shit like that, so that's also cool. He was really good into this map because there are a lot of bounce points on towers and shit. When there are a lot of objects for Hou Yi to throw out the bounce, it doesn't take that much skill to use those to accidentally hit somebody, for example. But if you do know all the bounce points as Hou Yi, you can do whatever the fuck you want while not even being in their tower. If you get a triple bounce and a stun with your 2, you can basically half hit somebody. So he has high skill ceiling, but even with him having a high skill ceiling, if you just play him at a regular level, he doesn't really have that. You don't really need that much skill to play him. You use your 2, you use your stun, you can use your 3 to knock him up. You can use your ult. I mean, his 3 is one of the best getaways in the game because he basically is banishing himself, outside of like counter picks like a Wheelix that can get him from there. But he basically banishes himself, can go over walls. The safest getaway out of the 3 gods that are going to be the best, in my opinion. And so, yeah, I think Hou Yi, and he does really good with autos too. I think they reduced his cooldown in his 2, so you build auto attack based on him, and he's fucking slamming autos. So he literally has everything. He has ability damage, stuns, and he has auto attack damage with crit, for example. So I think he's really, really good. He can also out trade people who also build crit too. So if you think about it, his passive has it to where I think a passive has some type of anti-crit to where it's a very weird passive, I think. I'm pretty sure this is Hou Yi's passive. So if you get crit by somebody, we're in a crit meta, sort of, in Joust. So if you see somebody else critting you, or building crit, I don't think you can get crit after like a couple times or something similar with crit, making it to where crit doesn't do as much damage, or you can't get crit or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. But he's really good, really solid. Not solid, I'm sorry. He's really fucking good. He's like top, like, if you're wanting to ban hunters, which I don't really think you need to do because there are so many other bans that are better than these hunters. Hou Yi is a really good ban too. So, but enough of that. We're gonna go into Ishtar. Ishtar, I think. Let me think about this. If I were to put her somewhere, I'd probably put her low A+. With Griffin Wing on her, I think she's very good with her one. You can argue top of A, but in my opinion, I think she does what other hunters do better. She has a great getaway. She has great setup in her ult. She has great damage in her 2, undervalued damage in her 2 that has great poke, does stuns and stuff like that too. And then her 1, very similar to Hachi's, doesn't do as much damage, but has the ability to throw out more with her 1. And you have 3 different ones. You're usually doing the long range one and the circle one for clear, but later in the game when you have crit and you're using your long range 1 on Ishtar, I mean, you can out damage Hachi sometimes if you're able to hit it. So very safe Griffin Wing abuser, and so I think she is A+ in my opinion. Izanami, what do I think about Izanami? I think she's solid. I don't want to put her in A, but I think I'm going to. Izanami is kind of a noob type of god that people pick up because she's very simple to play. Wave clear is crazy. She has great pressure, but she's kind of easy to fuck with. So honestly, you can argue high B, low. I'm gonna put her low B. I'm sorry, I can't put her any higher than low B. A high B, because I think she's just so easy to fucking kill. The only time she's really good is if you snowball with her because of her lane pressure and you don't like concede shit. Against the Izanami, she can clear so well, but outside of that, she doesn't have too much going for her. She's a very predictive 3. When she dashes away, you can see which way she dashes. Her ult is good, but you know, you can counter her very easily with any other hunter or any other god. So although she may seem safe and very noob friendly and stuff like that because she's invisible in her 3, she's not that great in my opinion, and you can counter her really easily. Jing Wei, I also want to put in subpar too. I think she's underrated, so I'm almost wanting to put her in A because she does have crit right now, so she is kind of good in the meta. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put her in low A. I keep switching these up. I'm like torn between these two. You can argue it for a lot of these gods, but I think she's A. You can die with her like 3 or 4 times and it won't matter because you're gonna die, respawn, get your wave, and you're not gonna lose anything. So you dying because of her passive makes it to where you get straight to lane, and with crit being in the meta, she has innate crit. Special armor doesn't do that much. It's good to buy special armor, but I don't think it's enough to counter her completely. I think the thing is you have to wait. You basically have to cook with her. You have to get a couple items online. That's when you're that's what you're gonna start actually doing some things with her. She has good counter matchups between like Bacchus and stuff like that, where if you flop, you can use your 3 to dash away. She's very good against Sobek as well, as you can get plucked by Sobek as Jing Wei, and you can use your 3 to dash away. She's very safe all the time, and I think she's underrated, and she does a lot of damage in my opinion. Martichoras went from S tier all the way to, in my opinion, low A. Like I said earlier, the ability based gods right now I don't think are in the meta. I think auto attack gods are in the meta currently, and you don't really build him auto attack. That's kind of fucking trolling. Not only that, they nerfed him into the ground. They kept nerfing the wrong things in my opinion. The Gilgamesh effect, as I call it. They just nerfed them like 12 times in a row to where they're not playable anymore, and then they're going to slowly incrementally get more buffs until they're actually somewhat more playable, very similar to Gilgamesh. And so I think he's low A. He still does a fuck ton of damage, but I think there are so many other gods that can outclass him because of all the nerfs that he's recently gotten. He's gotten like 18 fucking nerfs, which is insane to me. You would think after a while you'd be like, maybe the nerfs that we're doing to the exact same thing aren't the reason why he's really good. but I guess they didn't. So now he's just like not there that much anymore. Medusa, very middle of the road god. I'd say she's very simple, pub stompy against those people in lower tiers, in my opinion. The higher you go, she's very easy to counter. You just turn around when she ults. She's very predictable. She does a lot of fucking damage with her 1, her spit, and her 3, surprisingly. She has the anti-heal, and I think that's what makes her really fucking good too. She can build crit on her. Her 1 does a deceptive amount of damage, but she is pretty easy to, like, you pretty know what you know what she's going to bring to the table. So I think Medusa is solid A tier. Neith, I'm gonna go ahead and put in subpar. Neith is very easy to kill. You backflip and she dies because there's really nothing you can do. Her ult is fine, but she has to stay stationary, and in Joust that's not good. You're not going to be able to Neith ult across the map like in Conquest unless, you know, they're still fighting after you die and you came back. She can still be good. I just don't think she's all that great. Every other hunter do better than her, so I'm going to put her in low subpar, even though I'm technically still not fucking doing this shit, whatever. But yeah, I think Neith not that great. 2s, whatever. Just everything that she has is just subpar, in my opinion. Every other hunter can do better than her. Very similar to Izanami, she's very noob friendly. So keep that in mind. The higher you go up, if you're gonna play Neith in the higher levels, you're gonna get farmed most likely, unless you're a god Neith, which, you know, there aren't many. Olorun, a very, this might be my spicy take. I think Olorun's A+. I think he's the only magical ADC that is going to be up here, I think, if I'm looking at this correctly. I think he's really underrated. His ult is insane. You just got to wait till you get a couple rings online, and then you can literally farm anyone. His burst and innate crit that only he has is super fucking strong. His damage and his 2 does so much damage. He has one of the best lane clears in the game, as the longer you channel up your 1, the longer it'll go. So you can literally throw your 1 from like your fucking fount or from your tower and clear the wave. So you're the safest clear in the world. And his 3 has a knockup. So like if somebody gets close to you, you can knock them up, push them away, and you still have your ult to where, you know, anybody goes in it gets slowed down. You force out beads, you force out Aegis, and if you're going up against a tank that doesn't have a CC immune ult, you're shredding the fuck out of them. I can't tell you how many times I've 100-0'd tanks in Olorun's ult. It's actually nutty. I don't think any other god can do that, except gods like in S tier. Problem is that he's not any further up because he can be not ganked, can be countered pretty decently because he doesn't have a reliable getaway. So that does prevent him from being S tier in my opinion, but he has one of the best DPS out of any ADC I think in the game, except maybe one. I put Poseidan in here because I think you can go ring on him, and he's been rings and auto attack speed, I mean, and I think he's been shown a little bit more. I don't think he's all that great with that build, so I just put him up for shits and giggles here, but technically I guess I'm putting him in niche because I don't think he does much of anything there. But you still can go that, but I would much rather prefer your mage build with like 1 ring, for example. Rama, I think Rama's top A. You can argue A+ because his autos fucking smack. He's a really good god. The only problem is that you're gonna have to fucking prioritize hitting your autos, as that's basically all he does. Every single ability that he has is based on autos. His 1 goes through minions, also goes through all walls and objects and shit like that. His 2 gives you a stim, and his 3, you know, dashes away and makes you get a cripple arrow. And then your ult also is the only thing that has damage in it. But yeah, he's very safe. Does a lot of damage, and with auto attack gods being in the meta, him being able to go crit, he's a very solid god. He's almost A+, and in my opinion almost undervalued. I think he's a really solid hunter, because although he only has a dash away, or a roll you would call it, if he gets caught out and he doesn't have his roll, you can ult up in the air, and your ult lasts pretty long in the air. So you just wait up there, You just chill up there for a little bit, use your last arrow at the very last second, and then by that time you may or may not, usually a lot of times you do have your 3 back up, and you can 3 out. You can have 3, you're very safe with your ult as well, so you can use it defensively or offensively, depending on what the situation is. But I think he's a very solid, underrated god, and in my opinion it can be argued to be A+. Skadi, very subpar, low B in my opinion. She's sort of a what's the word? I can't think of it. Ability based god. She can go auto attack, but you're not really building her like that a lot of the times. If that, you're building a hybrid between those two. Very easy to kill. I mean, she doesn't have a getaway like at all, except for her icicle circle thing, what the fuck it's called. I don't play her. That can like get them away from you, but at the end of the day, she's not a safe god. Her ult can be countered very easily. You have to get it pretty close with her for, you know, to throw out your ult, for example, and they can just jump on you and then you're just fucked, for example. But she does do a lot of damage if you're able to get that off, which is why I don't think she's niche. And in fact, I probably put her up a little bit higher, but I don't think she's all that great. I don't think she ever will be, because she doesn't really have like a good getaway, except maybe her icicle circle. Soul as an ADC, I think she's subpar. You don't want to build her like an ADC, a true ADC. Maybe 1 at max 2 rings with her, as she does already have auto attack speed in her passive when you auto, and so you're already getting up there in auto attack speed. So when you're chunking with your autos, because her autos do a lot of fucking damage, you would just go damage items. So I think she's better. I think she's just better with your damage. I think she's pretty much low B with the build like that. I'd much rather have a lot of other hunters than her as the ADC, or even Olorun, for example. I think she's basically there with Chronos as well. Very similar to Chronos. You know, she just... They can, but they shouldn't, is what this really comes down to. You much rather just build them damage items. Like, I'm thinking right now, you know, you can go Book of Thoth, you can go Spirit of Desolation, Divine. You can probably sneak in a Telkine's ring if you wanted to. Outside of that, there's really no other rings you really want. Hou Yi, Typhon's Fang, you know, those type of items that that don't necessarily have auto attack speed on them. But, you know, yeah, as a ADC, I don't think she's all that good. Ullr, I think, is actually pretty good right now. I'm going to give him a solid A. Like I said earlier, ability-based gods aren't in the meta, in my opinion. And the only reason he's up here is because of how many buffs they've given him. I think they buffed him like 2 or 3 times within the past like 5 or 6 updates or some shit, so a pretty decent amount. And I think he's a pretty solid god. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's like necessarily great. And so I think, you know, if I were to put him somewhere, I'd just put him middle of the road A. But because he has a very high skill ceiling, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I want to put him a little bit lower on the... I'm pretty sure he's like low A in my opinion, because he does have high skill ceiling, but very good nonetheless in my opinion. Solid god because of all those buffs. Xbalanque. Yeah, Xbalanque, I just, you know, he's really not that good. He just doesn't... Yeah, no, he's the best god in Joust right now. Not too long ago was the highest win rated god in Joust before they reset it. His burst is crazy. I'm not entirely sure how this man has become such a demon in this game mode. Quite literally can carry games. I have a guy that I play with regularly. He will run Xbalanque into the ground if he just wants to climb the ladder. Like, I think I told a couple people in my Discord, which you should join, he basically climbed up to like 3k plus just spamming Xbalanque just because of how OP he abused the fuck out of Xbalanque. I think you ban him out of any of the other hunters. He just does so much damage with his bolas. You can definitely do like 200 in auto very early into the game, like middle of the way into the game, and if you hit all your autos, you just kill them. If you get crit, you're shredding them. which is in the meta. So if you build crit, you're never getting out traded, most likely, unless you miss your autos. He is pretty decent getaway. He does have CC in his 3, so that's also one thing to look at. His ult recently got a buff to where I think he gets movement speed and attack speed, if I'm not mistaken. And so you can throw it at a long range and, you know, get that as well. His ult is actually deceptively really good. With it being only like a, what is it, a blind effect or whatever, it's kind of scary because of how much damage he fucking does. It's not the greatest ult in the world, but I mean, he can hit you from a far distance. He's getting movement speed and attack speed. I mean, it's really good. He does a lot of poke. You basically can't do much of anything if you get late game with him. I've seen literally a Xbalanque with like 20% health, not one shot, but you know what I mean? Like within one fucking span of like 5 autos, kill an enemy Chiron. Like the Chiron, like the Xbalanque was low health, was running away. Chiron dashed in full health. Xbalanque turned around, ulted, and just slung all of his autos right in front of him and killed him instantly. No one else helped him. I was watching, I was like, oh my fucking lord, what the fuck was that? So yeah, this god is the best in the game. Disgusting. Ban him if you're gonna ban any hunter. Zeus, very similar shits and giggles with his 2 being buffed to where now he gets auto attack speed. You can still technically do it, and it's kind of like just cheese or whatever. It's not really gonna work, but I just put it in here for shits and giggles, as I said maybe somebody's gonna ask me what about auto attack speed Zeus, but no, he's bad. Don't do that. Just build a mage. And then similarly with Zhong Kui, I'm gonna put him in low B. I don't think he's that good for that build, especially when you have the cringe mage team I keep saying it, cringe mage build that you put on Zhong Kui, which I think is just better on him in general. So I would just do that instead of that. But at one point in the meta, he was throwing out rings and shit. You put rings on him and you throw out autos, which was fucking crazy. He would do so much fucking damage that I had to put him in here, because at some point people were throwing that build on him, and I don't think it's that good considerably, because you know there's other builds for him, but like in Joust you just get locked down and you die. So not very good on him in my opinion, at least in Joust currently. But yeah, a little bit shorter one, only 38 minutes. I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm looking at these. There's really, like I said, a lot of the gods are going to be middle of the road. Not a lot of gods that are going to be over the top because of these 3 gods being so oppressive. If you see a lot of the people who play ranked Joust, they're always spamming Hachi, they're always spamming Xbalanque. You don't really see a lot of the other hunters, in my opinion, at least high level. You see Anhur sometimes, but other than that, you don't really see a lot of other hunters being thrown out, unless you're watching like someone just fuck around high MMR. But I'm also biased because I'm also up there a lot against those master players too. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. Last one I'm going to be doing is your assassin hybrid tier list. This one's a little bit shorter, but again, I'm going to reiterate it again. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of the format of this. Do you want me to do a single, like one and done? Or do you like this format better? Or do you suggest another format, for example? Let me know. If you like it, even if you hate it, let me know, because I'm looking for the feedback for future videos of tier lists like this too. So I think that's all I have for you. Comment, like, and subscribe goes a long way. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching.